A Giants podcast for Giants fans
by Giants fans.
It's Sean Morash.
On the sideline, into the end zone. Touchdown, Giants!
From the offseason through the wins and the losses, it's time to take one Giant step.
All right, let's hop into it. Bryce Gelman here, one Giant step. A lot to cover, a lot of ground to cover here today. We're going to start with the biggest news, the most pertinent, newsworthy news is the fact the Giants do not use their franchise tag. They don't use their transition tag. Saquon Barkley, Xavier McKinney are free. They're on the open market. I'm not happy about one of these guys, and I'll start with that guy right here. It's Xavier McKinney. And for me, it really does not make sense how the Giants just don't use the franchise tag on McKinney, especially when now it's been reported by Art Stapleton that the Giants and McKinney will continue to talk. I don't see the downside in giving him the transition tag. They're not going to franchise tag him. I think that was completely out of the question, especially with the hefty price tag that it's at. I think it's at 17 and a half. I think it's $17.8 million, which is just an exorbitant amount of money to pay. Xavier McKinney is not going to go for that in the open market, so I don't think there was a reason why they should have given that. But the transition tag, why not use it? It really does not make sense to me. The Giants just didn't make that move, and now we've got to sit here with a Giants team that has no secondary besides Deonte Banks and Cordell. I mean, we can go through all the names, but in reality, the Giants are going to be missing their biggest asset, their captain in the secondary, in Xavier McKinney. And say what you want about him, say what you want what he did last year and going on the ATV in Cabo and injuring his wrist, his hand, whatever it was, and missing games in a must-win position for the Giants, making the playoffs, winning their first playoff game in years. That aside, and I've talked about this on the show before, I've talked about it everywhere, but that aside, Xavier McKinney has become one of the best safeties in the NFL. I mean, a top 10 ranked safety in PFF rating. I mean, this guy has done every single thing asked of him by the Giants. I mean, he's excelled now under multiple defensive coordinators. This year, he really did take a step. I know he said he wasn't going to come back because, if Wink Martindale came back, they didn't bring him back. He's still not coming. Whatever. I see what Xavier McKinney is trying to do right now, and I think you should all as well. Xavier McKinney thinks he's a top 5 safety in the league. Stats say otherwise. I think he definitely make an argument he's top 10. I believe he's top 10. He thinks he's top 5. He's going to go out, test the open market. He's going to try to get as much money possible. I understand. Good for him. If you were put in that position, you would do the exact same. But what I don't understand from the Giants side of things, how do you not transition tag him? Then it opens up the window to sign him. He's probably not going to end up playing, whatever it was. I think the transition tag at $13.8 million. He thinks he's worth $14+ million over a 4-year, 5-year contract. So that there's a chance he's not going to play. But still, Xavier McKinney goes out, tries to find a deal. The Giants can match that deal or trade him for assets. Now he leaves, you get nothing in return. Compensatory pick. You get nothing. So for me right now in this position, and for the Giants, where they're at right now, especially in an offense or in a defense that relies so much on safety play, in Shane Bowen's defense, how could you not bring back your secondary, your leader in the secondary? That's where I'm at right now. I know this just happened. The deadline was at 4 o'clock. It's now 6:45 when I'm taping this on Tuesday night. It has been extremely clear to me how important Xavier McKinney is for this Giants team. And I understand the side of it from his end. I get it. From the Giants perspective, I just do not get it. I don't understand. And again, as I said, I'm still holding out hope that they could come to an agreement, hopefully by next Monday, before the legal tampering period opens and the Giants could get him before he's able to talk to other teams. Maybe the Giants can get a better gauge of what he's worth if other teams are talking about what they're going to pay for him. Hopefully the Giants can make this deal with Xavier McKinney before real free agency starts so we could be just a little bit more confident, because as of right now, I don't think I'm comfortable with my team completely rebuilding its defense. And yes, they have Dexter Lawrence, arguably the best defensive tackle in football. They have Kayvon Thibodeau, who's shown some strides. They have Bobby Okereke, who became one of the best middle linebackers in all of football last year. You've got Deonte Banks. You get so and so and so. You need Xavier McKinney. He's one of your leaders. You got to bring him back unless you want to completely rebuild besides 3 or 4 names. So say what you want about his character. Say what you want again about what he did last year. He became one of the most solid pieces for the Giants, and they'd be extremely stupid to not try to outbid these other teams now to bring him back and bring him back to Big Blue. Let's move into Saquon, because this is the less surprising one. We heard early on in the day on Tuesday that Saquon would not be brought back, and good riddance, because there's no reason why the Giants should be paying him all that money with the franchise tag. Aging running back, yes. I know he's technically still in his prime, but he is in terms of where you draft a running back and their shelf life, he is in the twilight of his career as a running back. Why do you want to go out and pay a running back $10+ million a year? Apparently the Giants agree, because during the combine, it was reported that the Giants don't see the point in paying a running back $10+ million a year. And I think 25 out of the 32 NFL teams see the logic in that, unless you've got an absolute difference maker or game changer with a team that is currently ready to win. The Giants, what did they do last year? 6-11, 6th overall pick in the draft. They need to rebuild. They need to retool. They need to recalibrate this offense. They need to go into next year with a new identity. And Saquon Barkley being brought back, especially for people out there saying the Giants should have franchise tagged Saquon Barkley. I mean, do you really understand what a $13 million running back is going to do for the rest of the team? And I understand you don't want to hear, but the Giants have $30+ million more dollars to play with now that the NFL increases salary cap, but the 31 other teams also do. So it's not just the Giants. The Giants aren't just the only team that has $30 million to play with, and spending half of that money paying Saquon Barkley $13 million or franchise tagging him for whatever it was, $13-14 million made absolutely no sense. But what makes sense, and this is the only instance that I would be okay with the Giants bringing back Saquon Barkley, is a 3-year deal worth $10 million a year, a reasonable deal that gives the Giants the flexibility to go out and sign other guys, that gives them the flexibility to address the holes that they need to address without breaking the bank for an aging running back. So that's all I got to say about it. I don't want to touch on it too much. Apparently, people out there think Saquon's gone, and if he is, good luck. I've mentioned this a couple weeks ago. I hope Saquon thrives in another environment. I hope he does well wherever he goes, because he is that guy that you root for. He is the guy that you look at and say, that is a face of a franchise, and he has been the face of the franchise for the Giants the last 5 years. Respect to him. I think that realistically, the Giants need to make the right moves in terms of their personnel, who they want, and who they could see helping them win a Super Bowl going forward. I don't think that bringing back Saquon Barkley on a deal, if Saquon's asking for $12-13 million, makes sense going forward, and it will help their chances winning a Super Bowl going forward. I think he impacts winning right now, but I do also think that they need to develop a new identity. And if he doesn't want to sign a $10 million a year deal over 3 years, descending contract, he can go wherever he wants. And all Giants fans will still root for him because he's a good guy, and he brought what the Giants needed so badly after they got rid of Odell Beckham. And Odell Beckham, another story for another day. Saquon came in, took the mantle, and became the face of the franchise, and became a great ambassador for the community and a great ambassador for the New York Giants. All right, let's get into this other topic that I got today. And that's a report from Rich Eisen that he read on his show either yesterday or this past weekend. I think it was yesterday's show, Rich Eisen. Basically saying that he heard from multiple sources in Indianapolis during the NFL Combine that New York is absolutely done with Daniel Jones, and that the Giants feel buyer's remorse over the contract they gave him last year. What have all of us been saying this last year? It made absolutely no sense. Why the Giants, and this is, I'm not going to say that it made no sense the Giants didn't offer him the contract. It made no sense the Giants didn't pick up the 5th-year option. I understand they didn't know what they had with Daniel Jones, but look what he did the next year. He led you to the playoffs. You won your first playoff game in 10 years, and now look where you're at. The guy got hurt. You did not have much room to improve your franchise because you paid your quarterback $40+ million. And thankfully, there's only 2 of those years are guaranteed. This will be the last year next year that's guaranteed. The Giants could cut bait with Daniel Jones. It isn't that big of an issue. It's not like you got Deshaun Watson on your team. It isn't like you're the Denver Broncos. You traded your entire team to get and all your assets to get Russell Wilson. Now you release him. It's not a situation like that. Take a deep breath. I need to take a deep breath. But right now, the situation is that Daniel Jones is a question mark. The quarterback position has become a question mark for the New York Giants over the last year. From the first game on, the quarterback position has been a question mark. And you could blame this, you could blame that, you could blame Andrew Thomas getting hurt in that first game and completely shaking up the offensive line. That's valid. But if the Giants privately are saying all of these things, maybe we should believe them. Maybe they know what they're talking about more than we do. Because quite frankly, they've given Daniel Jones as many excuses as Daniel Jones' biggest supporters have given Daniel Jones. It might be time to move on. We've discussed it, 100 times. Every other thumbnail that we put up for this show has something to do with Daniel Jones potentially moving on. Fans want to talk about it. I want to talk about it. Sean wants to talk about it. It is the most pertinent topic of discussion for the Giants because it's the quarterback. Quarterback's the most important position on the field. It impacts winning the most, and the Giants have an albatross of a contract to Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is a top 10 paid quarterback in the NFL. And I think for good reason. The Giants really had no choice but to pay him, and they made the most of the situation. They gave Daniel Jones his money. They gave him and his agents what he believed he was worth. But then they gave themselves the option to cut bait after the second year. And that's where we're at. We're going into that second year. And who really could have predicted Daniel Jones tearing his ACL, his biggest asset being his legs, could be completely out the window? That is why we're discussing this right now in the way that we are. Who knows what's going to happen with Daniel Jones? But it appears, even after everything Joe Schoen on Thursday said at the combine, with even in that interview with John Schmelk, all those things that, we support Daniel. He's our quarterback. He's probably, if he's healthy, he's going to be the quarterback first thing, next year. Did he lie? Realistically, yes, he will be the quarterback at the start of the year. Do I think that they have complete faith and confidence in Daniel Jones? Absolutely not. I don't think anyone does. I don't think you possibly can. Even the biggest Daniel Jones fans have to be sitting, shaking in their boots that this could possibly turn into something that no one expected, that the Giants could go out, draft a rookie in this first round of the draft. If they draft J.J. McCarthy, I will not watch a Giants game next year. And that we will get into that. There's a month and a half, a little bit more than that to the NFL draft. That's another story for another day, and we will cover it. But the Giants could go out and do whatever they need to do, whatever's necessary to help them win going forward, to find that franchise quarterback, finally find that franchise quarterback. Daniel Jones, I don't really know where he fits into that equation. Unless he comes back, and unless with Andrew Thomas, with a better, improved offensive line, with some better options on offense, maybe the Giants draft a receiver, then we could see from there. But this really is a make or break year, not only for the Giants as a whole, but specifically for Daniel Jones, because he's not getting anywhere near the type of money that he got in free agency last year going forward if he does not perform this year for the Giants. And it's an unfortunate situation because Daniel Jones is a likable guy. He's a tough guy. He does everything that he's asked. He played a flawless game against the Vikings in the playoffs in 2022. There's a reason why he got paid. It's because he showed up. He committed minimal turnovers. He was making the right reads, the right decisions, when to run, when to throw deep. The excuses have run out. They have completely. And I think that this is a byproduct of that. The Giants privately saying that they're ready to move on and willing to move on. And supposedly the Giants are one of the most active teams in trying to trade up in the draft. Hopefully they can. Hopefully they could find their next quarterback. And hopefully they can learn from their mistake of playing Tommy DeVito and riding that wave and winning 3 games where they shouldn't have won those 3 games. Now the Giants are going to have to devote some assets to trade up, assets that they could use to help them win going forward. It makes 0 sense. It made 0 sense at the time. I understand why it happened. Shouldn't have happened. Shouldn't have happened. So that'll do it for today's One Giant Step. Again, as I said before, plenty more coming your way in terms of content from us, from Sean and I. We'll probably be back, if not later this week, next week. But thank you all for taking One Giant Step with me. See you all later this week or early next week.